Get ready for some great music and great stories. Band in Seattle starts right now. Welcome to Band in Seattle. I'm Xander Denke, and with me is JUDE, managing editor at the Monarch Review, to talk about tonight's bands, Wishbeard and Tangerine.
Starting out is Wishbeard. This four-piece creates dreamy post-punk music. Led by guitarist-vocalist Bryn Santillan, the band is filled out with Brighton on bass, Aaron on keyboard, and Jude on drums. Together, they create warm, sonic soundscapes of lush synth washes and affected guitar punctuated by a rhythm section that will inspire your dreams.
I can't wait. We'll be right back with Wishbeard.
Bryn Santillan, lead singer, lead guitar player for Wishbeard. The four of us rarely agree on everything. Our drummer came up with Wishbeard. We were like, that's perfect, let's be Wishbeard. Wishbeard doesn't have a particular meaning. I think people can interpret it the way that they want to. I personally have fascination with facial hair. I think it's crazy that guys can grow hair on their face. It's amazing.
Something about Bryn's melodies, I can always hear the part that should go with it.
Together we make a chord, we make a guitar chord. Brighton hears things that I love and I want before I even know I loved it and I wanted it.
Our style, I think, comes from the overlapping of each of the four of us in our personal styles.
I guess my style of singing comes from this guttural place. We create the music first before I write the lyrics. A lot of times it's me making sounds in the microphone at practice before I put words to them. Our keyboard player wrote Vision Quest. It's really synth heavy and it kind of makes you feel like you're on a space quest.
Rez is like the most technically inclined member of Wishbeard.
They have an understanding of unique elements that they can bring to our sound that I think help us stand out. They help us sound like that dreamboat made of pizza to the moon that someone said we sounded like. Sally Sheedy. I started playing a guitar riff in practice. I was like, this sounds very much like a Breakfast Club type tune, very 80s style. I think a lot of our favorite character in that movie is Sally Sheedy.
We're pretty fluid in the gender pronoun use in our band. Sometimes we say he, sometimes she, sometimes they. I think that's just part of who we all are, is not easy to categorize with those pronouns, so we sort of flip-flop them around. So I kind of use drumming as an emotional release. It's sort of like an anger management tool.
Jude's personality, I think, matches their drumming a lot. It's full of heart.
Jude plays a lot of times like this, if you watch how he plays, because they're feeling everything.
I think I put a lot of movement into my drumming because it's coming from, like, my core.
I think sometimes it's annoying to be like, oh, this is a really good queer band, or it's a really good lesbian band, or this is a really good girl band. I just want to be a band that people like what we're doing.
I think we're learning how to deal with it as we go along.
I'm not ashamed to talk about my sexuality or my gender expression or things that I think are important. I only have a problem when the focus of what we're doing, which is music, turns into the soapbox for something else. I want people to hear what we're doing before they make a judgment because we're women or whatever our sexual orientation is. The song Viking Tom is an ode to a mythical state of a man who we know is a good friend of ours. He looks like a medieval Viking. I don't know where he came from. He is a real person. It wasn't intentional that we wrote this song for him. We kind of just started creating it, but it sounded probably like if the Vikings listened to music back in the day, this is what they would be listening to.
Viking Tom is about Viking Tom, and he's a really awesome guy with a super cool beard.
Next up is Tangerine, made up of sisters MARIKA on vocals and guitar and Miro on drums, along with Toby on lead guitar and Ryan on bass. This close-knit foursome has been described as lovely, gorgeous, and gold-flecked. They're also known for fusing 60s-inspired West Coast pop with a twinge of R&B. This band is like the dawn itself.
You're gonna love them. We'll be right back with Tangerine.
See, I gotta make you understand. So hear me out. It is a sweet, sweet thing.
Marika. I'm the lead singer for Tangerine, and when I'm not making music, I work in a restaurant.
Went for a swim in the salty sea. The waves whisper courage to me.
I trained in ballet for 9 years. I went to the Pacific Northwest Ballet School, so it's like a pretty rigorous way to study ballet. Definitely gives you an appreciation for music and rhythm.
So hear me out. It is a sweet, sweet thing to me. Think about it. Think about what we could be.
I'm actually the second of 3 daughters in my family, and I studied piano as a little kid. I ended up getting kind of tired of that, burned out like a lot of little kids do. So now I don't even know how to play piano anymore, but that foundation led me to pick up the guitar when I was about 13. That's when I started writing most of my music.
Feel This Way was kind of our first local hit, if you will. It's probably the most recognizable song when people hear of or think about Tangerine. It's a super soulful, kind of retro pop sound, and we've been playing it now for over 2 years, it feels like, and it still never gets old. It's still an awesome part of the set for me every time we go into it.
Until I make you feel this way.
Band is totally worth it for me because I feel like sometimes I'm on the outskirts of society with all the alternative people, and we're all trying to make it in this weird art form that people say you can't make it in. So we're all making a risk, and everyone who's involved with the music scene wants to be there because they really want to be there. It's not the easy route, it's a harder route, so people are putting their everything into it.
Where you were sitting by the sea, in the distance, waves of tangerine. I, for one, thought we'd be okay. In my dreams, I always say the day real life is not. This ain't our story. Where did we go wrong?
Tidal Wave is a song based off of a recurring nightmare that I used to have about a tidal wave or a tsunami, and I've had it many times throughout my life in different formats, and it's usually completely terrifying, and I usually drown in the end. It's a very graphic dream, and just going through something in my personal life in the last few years, the dream started to feel like it was relating to that experience, and the song is about that.
Now all the dreamers holding hands, but they pretend that they know why. The wave is full of darkness and dark.
So I think of Tangerine as a kind of dirty pop band. A lot of the melodic things we do, especially with Marika's voice, are very pop-oriented. It's kind of dirty. instrumentally, but definitely always has pop sensibilities.
I think it's very hard to define. A lot of other people throw labels like California rock or like indie pop or whatever on it. We give it an edge, you know. We don't want it to sound like everything you hear on the radio.
And we do really like the song Tangerine by Led Zeppelin, but it's not completely a tribute to that because we also really like the fact that when you hear the name Tangerine, you don't know what genre you're going to get. It doesn't really imply a lot. It leaves us with a lot of freedom to sort of make the first impression when you hear us.
We'll be right back with more of Tangerine.
The challenge of being an artist a lot is having to sacrifice a lot of things. So, you know, stopping getting your degree to put all of your eggs in one basket and just go for the music. And then obviously the struggle of money every day, trying to make a living off of being an artist, but putting all your money back into your art at the same time. It's paying for itself, but not for me to live.
When you think about the average person my age making about $20,000, $25,000 a year, you think about 10,000 of that goes to making the band work. It's an expensive process. I just wish I had really rich parents.
You don't realize it when you join a band that you're also sort of running a business and there's so many other aspects to it. So I guess for me the challenge has been the balancing act, but it's also what makes it fun.
For the majority of the time I was in this group, I was working a bunch of jobs, I was going to school full-time, and also that was kind of at the onset of when we were really just, you know, trying to get our name out around town as much as possible, playing, you know, sometimes 4 shows a month, you know, a show every weekend, practicing all week to lead up to that. Having people around you who support you and believe in what you're doing is super crucial, and I've been fortunate enough to have those people. Definitely like have to twist a few arms here and there to like go on a tour, or like, hey, I'm gonna finish all my final papers on the road while I'm going to Austin. Thanks, professors.
Always Be Lonely is one of my favorite songs to perform, just because it has a lot of dynamics, a lot of energy. There's a couple moments where we all just sort of build up, all of us together, and then like release, and that's always just so much fun to play live.
That's it for tonight's Band in Seattle. If you want to hear more, check us out at bandinseattle.com, where you can hear full concerts and find links for more information about our bands and where they're playing next. Jake?
And to stay up with the latest on the band scene, check out my magazine, The Monarch Review, and my columns for KEXP and other publications.
Thanks for watching. Join us next week for more great music and great stories on Band in Seattle.